Right here is Stephen Campanelli, also known as Campy.
Thanks you, David. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you all again for being here.
So thank you very much for coming, Steve.
Oh, my pleasure.
Great. Steve has been is a veteran of these little fireside chats now. I think this is the third one, right? So
I'm the Susan Lucci of the SOC, apparently.
Well,
hopefully this year.
Right. And one of the most remarkable things about talking with Steve is getting a chance to listen to these amazing stories that he has working with Clint. Basically, the director is considering the camera operator when he wins the Best Picture Oscar for $1 Million Baby. One of the first person that he thanked was his camera operator, Campy. So, Mr. Campanelli. So that's pretty good. So tell us what it's about. I mean, here you are, and I think it's interesting to revisit the wonderful story about why you wanted to work with Clint.
Oh, yeah. Well, first of all, Clint was my boyhood idol as a kid. Growing up, I had the Dirty Harry posters and the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly and all that. And I just wanted to meet him as a fan, just say hi and get an autograph, get a picture, and that would be it. And that was my goal in life. And then 1994, Jack Green gave me a call to work on a movie in China. And I thought, well, I'm working with his cinematographer. I think, boy, if I really work hard on this, maybe, he'll recommend me for a movie with Clint. And it's exactly what happened, and ended up in a cornfield in Iowa and Bridges of Madison County. And
tell you your first picture was Bridges of Madison County.
Yeah, what a way to start. Yeah, it was pretty wild. And I just met him in a cornfield, and I just shook his hand, and I said, Mr. Eastwood, thank you for everything you've done. Because he basically got my green card and my visa. I'm originally from Canada, from Montreal, so I never imagined in a million years I'd be working with Clint Eastwood, my idol, first of all, and then I'm in Iowa and thanking him. And I say, Mr. Eastwood, thank you so much for everything. And he just stops me mid-sentence. He just goes, call me Clint. And that was it. And then that's been like that for 17 years, just call me Clint, and that's what I call him, Clint. Or you hear a couple times in the video, the boss, we all call him that. So, yeah, it's a dream come true and beyond, I guess you'd want to say. It's just been spectacular working with him. It's amazing.
I wonder if we'll get a chance actually to get permission from El Paso. That's Clint's company, and they're wonderfully protective of Clint in making certain that the projection of his image is just as appropriate. But it would be nice to be able to get the footage. We were treated to some footage tonight just after watching J. Edgar of the workings of Steve behind the scenes, and we were seeing some remarkable things, and I think we need to talk about just your decision to go ahead and strap yourself onto those old Model Ts and do those shots. What was that like?
That was wild. It's fun. You don't get to do that in a lot of movies nowadays. It's like there's insert cars and there's techno cranes or whatever. But Clint is old school. It's like just get on that fender and grab a camera and let's get a close-up of the actors. And it's exciting as a camera operator, you just go, okay.
And you have full faith in the skills of the insert car driver.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's the thing. It's an actor driving, so that's never a good thing. First of all, exactly right. So, but I just something magical just happens on one of Clint's sets. Things just magically happen, and what happens is a lot of the time, because we shoot the rehearsals, we shoot the first takes, a lot of time we don't know what we're going to do. So a shot like that literally comes up out of the blue. Like on a normal movie, you'd have, pre-production meetings and things. Okay, we need an insert car this day, we need this day, we're going to be traveling with the car, all that stuff, and that's all there. But with Clint, it's like, all right, next shot is traveling with Leo in the car and on the road, and we're like, well, how are we going to do that, And so it's up to me as a camera operator to figure out how to do that with whatever you've got on the set. And I said, well, that looks like a pretty sturdy bumper. I'm going to just sit on the bumper and hope for the best. And that's exactly what happened. So, that's another thing, in the SOC is to teach other people or other camera operators just things like that, where sometimes you just have to rise to the occasion. Obviously, you don't do anything dangerous or crazy, but, if you feel safe and you feel it's good, you can happen, and you're going to help the director create his vision, then that's part of our job is to, go ahead and do that. So.
Great plug.
Yeah.
We also noticed that Steve was wearing his SOC T-shirt.
That day, yes, I did. Yeah, I wore it several days, but yeah, that happened to be in the video.
But at one point we noticed the driver of a car. I think you were doing that shot that's looking out the back window of his perspective.
That's right.
Was that but it was a country. I'm trying to think of the shot, because there was the one where he leaves him
That's when they're
army behind.
Yeah, at the bottom of the steps, and he says
was
we're supposed to have lunch, and and that was like a pull away shot away from army. And normally you'd have either a teamster or maybe the actor that was driving away. But Clint is an amazing driver, and he jumps in the car and he gets it too, because he knows what he wants. You know, he knows the speed he wants it to leave away, and he knows the car. He literally knows cars like unbelievable. Like these cars are, you know, so old. It's amazing. But he's just an amazing driver, and I have complete trust in him when he drives.
It's like the decay pedal on a piano. He knows exactly the gas pedal, how he wants it to pull out.
Yeah. He's driven me so many times in so many crazy situations, but I just have complete trust in his abilities. You know, it's amazing.
And then he's there and he knows the shot.
Yeah, exactly.
So what is that like? I mean, we notice he carries around a little viewfinder, but he is there at the camera, isn't he? Yes,
he's right next to me all the time, just watching. He watches the monitor to see what the framing and composition is, just for curiosity, and then he looks up at his actors, and that's the beauty of his directing, is he watches the subtle performances of the actors visually, not from a monitor 50 feet away yelling directions at actors, you know, which I find nowadays everyone's doing that, you know. But it's great to just see him right there next to the camera, and he'll just say a subtle little thing, and, you know, we'll cut or something, then he'll talk to the actors right there, he whispers, it's not a big screaming thing, you know. So a lot of that is just the intimacy of his sets. It's very quiet on his sets. It's very organized. So, and that video thing he uses is just the only. We don't have a video village. There's no video village. There's no chairs and monitors and stuff. It's literally a couple of monitors handed off around the set, and away we go.
So, in the beginning, when you first arrived in the country, and you're doing Bridges of Madison County, and you are like the new guy, and that was with Jack Green?
Yes.
Yeah, that was with Jack Green, and Jack is a very accomplished operator and certainly a cinematographer of great renown. So he probably was involved in setting the shots, working with Clint, because they already had a relationship. And it looked like that's changed. The whole dynamic of who works the shots with the director, and it seems like someone is actually suggesting the whole way of shooting everything.
It's an unusual. Yeah,
tell us about your working relationship with Clinton and the metamorphosis.
Yeah, that's a very good question. It's a very good. You picked up on that. We're a very dysfunctional family. I think that's like the way to look at it. It's unusual from every other film you're ever going to work on. That is the case at first. Jack Green, of course, knew Clint's style. He kind of, you know, gave me the confidence to just suggest. At first, I was just panicked that I was working with Clint Eastwood and Meryl Streep. I was like, this is crazy, you know, a kid from Montreal. And slowly, I got over that panic, and I started to do my job. And it was interesting because Jack was such a good mentor that he just kind of let me slowly take over, slowly and subtly, with his confidence, self-confidence. He doesn't have any, you know, ego that, okay, you know. And then that's the way Clint likes to work. I'd say it's kind of a mixture of the British system, as you will, where the operator and the director work very closely together. And Clint's a man of few words, doesn't talk a lot, so he doesn't want to have to talk to 3 different people about the shot. So he goes directly to me and he says, you know, what do you want to do in this shot? And I'm going, well, I don't know, looking at what we just saw, I think I should come around here and do a little pushing at the end. He's going, great. Or he'll suggest to me, he'll say, well, I was thinking here we should do it, start up high and then come in or whatever. And so it's a great relationship back and forth, because I know what he likes and he knows what I like, and we just kind of work together. Like on J. Edgar, there's a lot of shots we would just kind of read the sides. Like, it's very unusual for most movies, because on most movies, you're there, you block the scene, you bring the actors out of hair and makeup, you get them in there, you rehearse the scene, blah, blah, everyone comes in, watches it, you see everything go, then you get the dolly track down, then the lighting and all that. We do everything completely opposite. We walk in, we read the sides, and we go, all right, well, it says he comes through the front door, and he goes, sits at his desk, and he walks over to the window. All right, great, all right, that's what they're going to do. So Tom Stern does the lighting for that. I set up the camera move. Clint comes in, he goes, all right, what do we got? And we tell him, and we say, we're going to do this, and come around here at the end, and he's like, all right, great. The actors never get disturbed from their whole process of getting ready in the morning, and they come into the set, and they know they've read the sides, and Clint goes, all right, we're going to come through the door and sit at your desk and then go to the window. And they're like, okay. And it's very efficient that way, because there's no talking about how we're going to change everything, and, you know, so it just really just happens very organically.
But it's not as if you're not going to set up a whole coverage. There are certain things that you do just kind of like, you know, involved masters. You're moving the camera all the time.
Right.
You know, it could be, you know, you with the Steadicam, and some amazing shots in that. I mean, up and down the stairs, outside the courthouses, and there was some forwards and backwards. Tell us about that.
Yeah, we use I would say the movie's about 80% Steadicam, and not necessarily doing all these crazy Steadicam shots. He just likes to keep the camera moving very subtly. We hardly put marks down for the actors. We just kind of let them feel what they want to do. And so I just move the camera slowly, and I always try and, you know, get nice compositions, obviously, with practicals in the background or windows or just stuff like that. And Tom Stern's lighting is very accommodating to that too. He really knows how we work, and the actors have quite a bit of freedom to not hit exactly their marks, and I can move around and just get a little. And I have a great focus puller in Billy Coe, where I can do little push-ins whenever I feel the moment warrants it, you know.
Was it scripted as all of this walking and talking? I mean, there's a lot of movement in dialogue. I mean, was it decisions within the scripting process, or was it, you know, you decided with Clint and Tom just to keep the camera moving that way? I mean, there's a lot of hallway shots.
Yeah,
there are. You know, versus them just sitting. I mean, there is quite a bit of his stuff at the desk. But I noticed a lot of these, I don't know if it's almost a signature shot of feeling in this movie in particular, just stuff that kind of goes up and comes down, and, you know, this around. But there's a lot of this climb up and climb down kind of thing. Is there any particular reason for that? I
don't know. It's very good that you caught that too, because this film, we did more of that than we've ever done before. And I think it was just all in Clint's head. I never really quite understood until I see the movie, but yeah, we did a lot of that. He would say, you know, we're doing a push in here. He says, but as you go in, just rise up towards the end. I was like, okay, great, because I love doing that. But normally he's not into that, so I was like, all right, that's awesome. And then the opposite, we'd go in and then maybe come down, so the background would come behind them, you know. So he's got the whole film in his head, and he kind of knows the moments that he's going to use and why, that kind of stuff. So, and then sometimes, you know, I should ask and say, why are we doing that? But sometimes I just go, you know, leave it to magic. When I see the film, I'll just go, that's cool.
Well, he's writing the music. I mean, is he writing the music to the film, or is he doing the film to the music he's written in his head? I mean, these are because he's a musician.
Right. A lot of that is, it's a very good question. He is tempo. Everything's tempo with him and stuff. And to answer your other question about all the walking in the hallways and all that, he sees and he knows the film, and he goes, okay, we've just had a huge 4-page dialogue scene at a desk. I can't have this scene be another, you know. So it's literally scripted as being at a desk, but he goes, you know, let's get up, let's walk down the hallway. And it keeps the camera moving, and it keeps the audience interested, and you get to see the beautiful sets we built, and, you know, that, so it's all, he's always thinking about stuff like that, you know. I mean,
are you constantly auditing the cutting and the way it works out? I mean, what's the difference between working with Clint and working with other directors who may have all of this going in their head already, but are you visualizing the cut at the same time, so the screen directions from scene to scene, the transitions will be moving, you know?
Yeah, there's that one sequence where you can see where I was talking about. It's that long Steadicam shot where Army and Leo come out of their hallway, out of his office, down through his outer office, into the hallway, down the thing, and then they go into the crime lab, whatever. And that was just me figuring out all the coverage inside the lab once we got there, because that first shot was all one Steadicam shot. And then the next, once we went into the lab, there was coverage to be done there. And that's exactly right. I do have to figure that out in advance, so other people, because again, Clint doesn't tell you a lot of information. Everyone asks me everything. So they're like, Steve, what are we going to do when we get in the other room? I'm like, well, we're going to do this, and then we're going to 75 on a reverse, and then we're going to come around over the shoulder, and then sometimes we'll cross the line and go on the other side and do a complete reverse. And so people need to know that, you know, art department, set dressing, wardrobe, whatever. So they all come to me and ask me the questions because they know I'll have it figured out, you know, and they don't want to bother Clint. So my duties on one of his films are way more than I would be on any other film.
Right.
So, which I love and enjoy, and the lack of video assist and playback really makes you sharp, because you've got to watch everything. You've got to watch background extras. You've got to watch, you know, just so much to watch, because no one else is going to see that because there's no playback. So you have to really be sharp. So I find when I get on other movies where there's playback and there's 15 people at Video Village, I tend to get a little lazier because I go, they're watching all that stuff. You know, I'll just watch my framing, composition, performance, stuff like that. So I really work a lot harder on the Clint movies, even though our shooting days are shorter and our schedule is shorter, but I completely exhausted at the end of it.
Concentrated.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Other dailies?
Very rarely, yeah. We don't, I don't even remember if we just had dailies on.
Right.
Yeah.
I remember on The Changeling during our conversation, you told this absolutely amazing story about how, I think it was even the first day, everybody was early. When Clint arrived, he was 20 minutes early. All the picture cars were in place. It was like, I think, the opening shot of the film. Yeah. And it's over in Altadena or Pasadena, somewhere. Pasadena's. And it's a high sweeping shot, a crane shot, and it ends up introducing, you know, the whole time period and the house. And he shows up a little early, and you were already sitting on the crane.
Yeah.
You had just got up to just see something, and he goes, well, why don't you show me what you do, and then why don't you go ahead and roll?
Yeah.
And you're like 20 minutes before call time. And
Yeah.
it's the shot that's in the movie.
It's a true story. It's, yeah.
So,
it's
I mean, it's great. I've repeated it, so that's why I can tell it almost.
It's a big shot, too. It's like big CGI opening, and it goes down through the trees and the cars, and, 1920s cars. I figured, they're never going to all work, and everything worked, and Clint didn't even look at my opening frame. The video, I don't think, was set up yet, whatever. It just was, just go for it and see what happens. And we did it and came down.
And what did he say?
He
said, how was it?
How was it? And I said, it was great. And he goes, all right, move on. And it's 20 minutes before crew call. And I'm like, all right, great.
And that's why in the SOC it says we see it first.
Yeah.
And there's the reliability and the experience. I mean, when you have a relationship and beyond proficient camera operator, you can go ahead and move like that.
Thank you.
So the question was really leading into this one. Was there one of those experiences on this film?
Well, this one, that's a good question. This one, I think out of all the film, we usually do get our first shot off before a crew call. It's usually an establishing shot. And it's like, the first day you all get there early because everyone's all excited, and the camera comes off the truck and it just sits on a dolly or a crane, whatever it happens to be. So we just do a shot. But this film, we started interior in this Victorian house, which is basically Hoover's mom's house. So we didn't get our first shot off before crew call. But it was, it was a complete huge scene with lighting and everything, and we did it like I think 50 minutes into crew call. We had everybody there, actors, everything, and we did our first shot like literally an hour before after crew call. So it's just pretty amazing. On most movies, on your first day, I'm sure it's like at least 3 hours. So
there was a lot of transitions within different time periods. You'll be in the same setup, for instance, the horse racing, or in the restaurant, or these other kinds of experiences where you'll have the same two actors, and then all of a sudden, through the magic of the makeup. What was that like? Was as far as waiting for makeup or just redoing that? I mean, that they really looked like those took hours.
Yeah.
I mean, it was. We knew it was makeup, obviously, but it was really good. I mean, it was really well done. So was that
the Leo old age stuff was added at the end of the film. The last 3 weeks of shooting were all Leo's old makeup stuff, and that was 6.5 hours every day of makeup. So he had really, really long days because he would get in at 6 in the morning, and then our crew call wasn't until like noon or something like that. So he'd already be 6 hours sitting in a chair, and then we'd get in at noon, and then we would normally not break for lunch, and we would just go 9 hours straight and just shoot because the makeup wasn't that comfortable for him and all that stuff. So we would just go meal penalty and just go home or go eat or whatever. Right. So that was our day for the last 3 weeks of the movie. So it was tough. It was really on Leo, on all of us, because we had to really be sharp. We had so much to do. As you see, there's just so much story to tell. The whole movie we shot in 39 days, which is, pretty amazing for such a big epic period film, we were a lot of locations. So it was, again, Pasadena, of course, for the old town and all that. Downtown LA quite a bit. Studio, like J. Hoover's office was studio. The hallways were all studio. Mom's house was downtown LA. So we were, in and around LA. And we had 1 week in Washington, D.C. And that was our last week of shooting.
Right. What was the cast like?
Oh, it was great.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, working
fantastic.
with Naomi, working Army, and obviously Leo. Any particular interesting idiosyncrasies besides the makeup?
No, everybody just got along well, It's just, there's a really happy feeling on a Clint Eastwood movie. It's just everyone's really in a good mood to do good stuff. And they know you've got to come to the table ready because they know you're going to shoot the rehearsal. They're going to shoot the first take. And everybody comes prepared. And it's phenomenal. Even the day players that come in are just so prepared and so good. Because Clint casts everybody on video. He doesn't meet anybody. And he said once, because he says, I'm Clint Eastwood. And if you were rehearsing in front of Clint Eastwood, wouldn't you be nervous? And I was like, yeah, that's a good point. And that's why he does that. I mean, he didn't meet Armie Hammer until the first day of shooting.
Wow.
Yeah. And so Armie shows up and he's like, oh, hi, Clint, nice to meet you, Armie.
He really brings it.
Yeah, and Armie did a fantastic job in the movie. So that's his thing. It's just, and people walk on, they're nervous. They say, oh, it's Clint Eastwood, And then he just breaks the barrier down. He's the nicest guy. He just, very unassuming. He's kind of goofy, loves, bad jokes. It's awesome. So it's a really good time on the set. We just have a lot of fun. So all the cast was just very much at ease the whole time. Leo is such an amazing actor, did such an amazing job in this. Clint saw that and he gave Leo a few more takes than we would normally do. We'd get up to take 6, maybe 7, that kind of stuff. So
was it different?
A little different. I think it was more Leo than Clint's direction. It was more Leo trying something different to see, you know, and sometimes it was Clint's idea. Right. So, yeah, try it a little bit this way, you know.
Did Leo wear contact lenses? He had like the darkest eyes.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did. The whole movie,
Yeah.
And he had a little jowl put in and stuff like that. That was on every day, yeah. But yeah, it was just, and we also added more lenses. We normally shoot with it's all anamorphic, 27 millimeter. Then we usually go like to a 40 or a 50. Then we go to a 75. Sometimes 100, but on this film,
the 3-inch.
The 3-inch, yeah, exactly, yeah. And then usually on this film we went beyond that. We went to the 100 to the 135. So we added a lot more coverage on this movie than we normally do. And I think, you know, just Clint saw the storytelling in his mind and figured it. So we had a lot longer days. You know, we had actual 12-hour days on this movie. So yeah, I know.
Wow. Everybody was unaccustomed.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
What about this film equipment now? You guys are using all that antique film stuff pretty much all the time, right?
All the film stuff, yeah. We used
is
Fuji.
That his choice? To use film? I mean, thank God.
Yeah, exactly. No, I love it. I love the smell and the feel and the sound of film.
Has he done anything with HD digital?
We do some, we do some digital stuff, which Liz helps us with. We hide some cameras here and there, digital little crash boxes and things, and yeah.
So it's interesting. Okay.
So yeah, he's definitely embraced it. He's embraced the CGI world very well, and he's embraced the digital world for that, but not for an entire film. I don't think yet. I think he's still, you know, in love with film as we all are, and you know.
But it's cut on a non-linear system.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
I would like to invite my colleagues in the audience if they have a question for Steve. Go ahead. Yeah,
and that's the thing with backgrounds and all the court stuff and things like that is Clint rolls on the background when they're not looking because that's when they're the most natural. They're just talking to each other, you know. They're just sitting there, or else they're, you know, rolling. Everyone's like, you know, that's why he doesn't call action or cut. He just says go ahead, and then he goes, that's enough, you know.
And so you're using the 27, the 40, and the 75, and the 100 typically.
Those are standard lenses.
The 27 every night.
Yes, we have
opening shot. There's a big wide pan. That seemed to be like
we have a really great 25 mil, which is amazing. That's our widest lens that we have. Yeah, and it's fantastic.
But you're mostly shooting anamorphic.
Yeah. I don't think we've ever done a non. I think we did one on Space Cowboys. It was non-anamorphic.
Right.
But other than that, it's all been anamorphic, which is great. Yeah. And we use C-series lenses, which are a lot of people don't use them. They just use them for Steadicam because they're lighter. But you know, we just like the look of them. They look really great. We got a really good batch of them too. So keep them locked here in the room. So don't get any ideas.
Question. One of the things I noticed was how good old Leo's hands looked. I mean, they really did a good job on his hands.
Oh yeah, the liver spots and all that. Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah. He had a really, really good makeup team. Leo's people were really, really good, and every detail. None of that was digitally touched up. It was all actual makeup.
Yeah, what is the percentage? I mean, the shots when he goes out and looks at the parade and all that, was that staged?
That was all. That was all staged. Yeah, it was all CGI. There was just a blue screen there, and that was it. So it's pretty amazing, you know. I'm still amazed, you know. I just go,
so that was
there's nothing there. That was all created. Yeah, it literally went on this balcony. There was nothing there, and it's like Clint goes, you know, we'll go over his shoulder, and you're going to go into his POV. And I'm like, all right, just go over his shoulder, and I look into, you know, a blue screen with a bunch of orange X's on there. I'm like, and then we actually went to J. Edgar Hoover's real office in Washington, D.C., and that's where they shot all the plates and stuff like that, obviously. But it was kind of cool to actually see what I was supposed to be seeing because I had never seen it. So it was kind of neat.
Yeah, it was very un-FBI looking, you know.
Yeah, and it was like on the ground floor, too, of the stage. So to get the low angles of him looking down, I was literally on a sandbag, you know, just with the camera pointed up at him because, you know, he wasn't elevated at all. He was just right in the main floor. So
a terrific historical perspective of that whole thing. I mean, you know, with Nixon and then the different presidents and Kennedy and
he had a lot of dirt on them.
Yeah, he did.
Oh boy, I learned a lot in this movie.
We really have time just for about one more question, David.
It's like you've got to react so fast because you don't know. Like, am I going to do a push in or not? And again, like Billy Coe's an amazing focus puller, and it's just like I'm going to go in, you know. And sometimes he'll stick his leg out when I'm going past minimum focus, you know.
Good. I mean, you can't get past.
Yeah, he always does that. He's like, that's a signal, like stop.
And so, any particular tricks that you developed for the handheld? I mean, you did all those, you know, when Leo and Army are doing that big fight, you know, the passionate fight sequence.
Oh yeah.
Handheld. Anything?
I want to tell you a story about that. Yeah, that again was we blocked a little bit, to be honest with you, because that was pretty tricky and stuff like that. And then obviously visual effects stuff is blocked with Clint and Michael Owens and all that kind of stuff. But most of the acting stuff is really just, you know, improv. So we kind of knew roughly where Army and Leo were going to go and stuff. But again, we just shot it the first time, and he breaks the glass against the fireplace and all that kind of stuff, and it's all handheld. And then we got down to the final thing where he's, you know, they get down, they're silhouetted against the window and the profile, and I put the camera on a slider. And this is when they're supposed to, you know, punch each other. Then they end up having that kiss. And so I put the camera on a sandbag on a slider, and then Tom did the lighting, the beautiful back, and we had the stand-ins there. And I was like, so we're just about ready. The actors come in. It was a little tense because, you know, we're all joking the entire movie that they have to kiss, and this is the moment, you know. So everyone just quiets down, and so we're getting ready, and I go, I got to find out when I'm supposed to push. So I walk over to Clint. He's just sitting on an apple box, and this is a true story. I walk over. I said, Clint, how long, when am I supposed to do my push, and how long are they going to kiss? Without a beat, he goes, I don't know. I've never kissed a guy before. Swear to God, that was his answer without even thinking. That was his answer. In a nanosecond after I asked the question, I went, thank you, and I went right back, got on my camera, and they came, they did it, boom, it was perfect. I pushed in at the right moment. It was just like, but I'll never forget that moment. And I told Leo and Army right after they did it, and they, oh my God, I'm going to remember that forever. But, yeah.
It's always great to get Steve to say something that Clint says because he goes into
I go into the voice, yeah, that's right.
Well, great. Only because it is getting late, and I think it's been an absolutely huge treat to have you come and tell us some stories. It's always great to talk with you, and thank you very much.
Thank you all for coming tonight. Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah.